Hello and welcome to the Friday show, the day after Thanksgiving. No music, no special jingles, just a conversation today between the smartest guy I know and me. One of my best friends in the world who has had one of the worst years you can possibly imagine. I'm joined today by Dr. Aaron Carroll. Dr. Carroll, of course, is a pediatrician. He's a health researcher, and he is an author of several books that debunk myths about your body and your health, including most recently The Bad Food Bible. He's contributed to the New York Times on a regular basis, The Atlantic Magazine, and so many more media outlets, including this one. And today I just wanted to have and post a very special conversation. Didn't want to put a lot of pomp and circumstance around it. I just wanted to play it for you. I think you're really going to like this. A very personal, honest, sobering conversation with one of the smartest, most thoughtful people I know, Dr. Aaron Carroll, and his worst year ever. And then, of course, we get to some COVID-related and health-related and research-related questions as well. You can find Aaron on YouTube at youtube.com/healthcaretriage. Follow him on Twitter at Aaron E. Carroll and let him know that you enjoyed our conversation, which I really think you will. Happy Friday. Happy post-Thanksgiving. Here now, Aaron Carroll.
Okay, well, you, of course, Aaron, know that you are one of the all-time, if not the all-time favorite guest on Stand Up Pete Dominic, one of my closest friends, and we have a lot of new talented musicians and creative people listening to the show. You have written your own intro, your own theme song, and I want to unveil it.
Get out.
Yeah, this is from the great Gareth Sever, and he worked with another listener. This is a collaboration, Gareth Sever and Pete Coe.
Get out.
And here it is. Are you ready?
I totally am ready.
Paging Dr. Carroll. Paging Dr. Carroll.
Aaron Carroll.
He's Karen, and he shares it all.
Aaron Carroll.
He's blaring it out and bears it all.
He knows modern medicine dispels disinformation. He's a brilliant pediatrician. All that and then some. Aaron Carroll. He's the IUCHO. Does HSR writes NYTO and puts out HC
Paging Dr. Carroll. Dr. Carroll to the Shedio.
Wow.
Oh my God, that's ridiculous.
There was so much biographical information in there.
I'm impressed. Those are clearly people paying attention. I'm very impressed. Holy crap.
What do you want to say to Gareth and Pete, I guess?
Oh my God, thank you. I'm like humbled, and now I'm like probably blushing. Like, okay, that's amazing. People have your listeners have lots of talent, clearly. Wow.
They certainly do.
Wow.
Thank you very much for making the time for us.
Always.
People always want to hear what you think about anything. I certainly want to hear what you think about anything from cars to cookies to diet soda. So that's why we love talking to you. Okay, so you told me that we could have this open conversation about what's going on in your life for the past year, as I've certainly been keeping updated on it and watching as it's all unfolded and talking with you as much as I can about it. Your 2020 was very horrific, like the most horrific. You lost both of your parents.
Well, I lost one in 2021. It's like it's just the last year almost exactly.
Okay, well, within this, you both your mom and your dad died. Your best. Let me just rip the Band-Aid off for everybody. Your best friend just died after a years-long battle with cancer, which you have been obviously intimately involved with. And then you yourself had a horrific accident that we can look back on and luckily joke about.
Yeah. So, I mean, So like, my dad started this all off, and, it's weird. One of those weird things. It was like right as the pandemic was cracking. It was March of 2020. My middle son and I were supposed to go to Florida and see my parents. And it was just literally the week when the world felt like it came to an end, and we canceled the trip, and we're rescheduled for this summer. And then, of course, it got to the summer, and we pushed it off to even further. And then in November, he had I'll make this story short. He fell and he hurt his shoulder, and then had a series of mishaps and wound up having to be intubated for a short period of time, and then just decompensated, and then passed away. And it was rough. It was not an easy passage. It was very hard on my brother, certainly, who was in Vegas, couldn't get to the funeral because it was, peak of COVID and no vaccinations yet. It was just too unsafe, and they were just doing something outside. And so watched it on Zoom. Horrible. And then we had, my brother jokingly said to me, I hope we get a couple months off. We just need a break here. And then, of course, within a month, my mom started to have decline. She's had Alzheimer's for years. She's actually in memory care. I think we moved her to memory care literally right before the pandemic hit again. Crazy. And then she just started declining fast. And of course, it's been hell in nursing homes and memory care with the pandemic because every outbreak causes a lockdown. So my brother hadn't even been in to see her for some time. We went out in April and saw her, and she was doing okay, but then rapidly declined in August. I went out this time, and my brother and I were there, and then she passed away. And so it's, we're just barely working through my father passing away, and then we're working through and I who knows, does anyone want to hear this story? But I'll tell it anyway. So
we want to hear.
We were on vacation. We were on vacation with friends, and I was trying to relax because work has been stressful and everything has been stressful. And it was only a couple weeks after my mother had passed, and we were trying to sell their house. We were trying to fix up their estate or get it all done. And in a series of quick succession phone calls on vacation, first I heard that all of a sudden it looked like we might have trouble selling the house. And then it was my daughter, she wasn't feeling very well. And it was, of course, then panic about, is she sick? And my in-laws were there. And what do we need to do for that? And then I got a text or a phone call from my friend who had just been kicked out of his cancer trial. And I was sitting at the table, and,
kicked
friends were just asking, how's everything going? And go ahead.
I'm sorry, just to clear that up. He kicked out of his cancer trial. What does that mean?
He was on a, immunotherapy, experimental immunotherapy to try to treat his cancer. And they were like, no, you're out. His cancer had grown. And they're like, you're done, go home. And they were not very nice about it. And so he was distraught. I was distraught. All of this coalescing, people asking me questions like, how's he doing? And I could feel it. I'm at the table with friends and my wife, and I'm having a panic attack. And I could feel it was a panic attack, and I could feel like I was going to pass out. You've seen this before. So I like an idiot, was like, I don't want to pass out in front of my friends. So I'm going to get up and walk around the side of this building, lean down against it, or sit down on the ground and pass out. Next thing I know, I'm coming to, and I groggy, and I try to stand up, and I didn't realize it. I must have passed out and fallen over a wall and through a fence, and I was on a mountain, like a steep incline. And when I stood up, I just toppled and started rolling. I was literally panicked out of my mind. I'm like, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna fall off the side of a cliff. And I eventually smacked into trees because it's like a forest, and then stopped, thank God. And I'm now crawling up the slope as hard as I can. I was tearing my fingernails out. I could feel just wetness all over my face. I pull it down. It's obviously blood. I make it up to a rock. I sit down. I hear my friends calling for me, and I'm like, get Amy. And I turn around, and I must have just been. I managed to just cut gashes into my face that you really can't see anymore. It's impressive. But I looked like hell, and nobody knew the mechanism of injury. No one knew if I'd fallen down, how far down, did I break my neck or my back? Everything hurt. So I laid on the side of a mountain while EMS came. Of course, we're at the top of a remote mountain. It took 45 minutes. They put me on a backboard. They determined they got to take me to hospitals. This is in Tennessee. They airlift me. So the ambulance drives me down to the bottom of the mountain. They put me in an ambulance, and then they put me into the helicopter. And I'm laying there staring at the ceiling because Amy couldn't even get in the helicopter with me. And I'm, and I keep telling myself, I can move my toes and I can make jokes but on the other hand, I'm in a helicopter and they're giving me fentanyl. Am I going to die? And they airlifted me to the hospital. They did, it was the whole trauma thing, the abdominal ultrasound and 1,000 questions. But long story short, they scanned everything from like here all the way down, everything that hurt to see and nothing was broken. Everything was fine. Can you guess what the airlift, the original bill was though? Like that was stunning.
You got medevac. You got put on a helicopter and brought
helicopter. And so so then they had to sew up my face, which was pretty rough. Like I had a couple of really nasty gashes. But I was lucky. I mean, I could have died. And it was like, and then I came home and then I was like, well, I gotta handle this. And this was before Jim passed away. So, I was, I started antidepressants and some, anxiety stuff. And I was just trying to start coming out of the hole. And then, one of my closest friends, passed away. And so that's, back in the hole, and I've been slowly climbing out. But it's been a rough year. I mean, it's just a rough year. And it's like, and I'm not saying like it hasn't been a rough year for everyone. The pandemic sucks for everyone. But yeah, it's been, if people wonder why I'm not on Twitter as much as I usually am, or if I've not been as quick to answer an email or something as I usually do, it's been a rough year, as you know. Yeah.
Given all the resources that you have and your amazing wife and kids and friends, what has been working to try to get out of the hole?
Well, tons of therapy. I mean, therapy has always helped, but this time around, it was this is the first time. Like when I was a resident, I've written about this. I was massively depressed, massively, and it was a problem. And I remember this. I mean, you have to remember this, like the late '90s. And my therapist at the time was like, we could try an antidepressant, but this was back when. They still would note that stuff in your medical license. And there were lots of thoughts that could actually make practicing medicine hard. And that's, only recently that has changed. So they were not thrilled. They were like, why don't we try with therapy and not any medication and see if we can control your anxiety and depression that way. And, it's worked reasonably well off and on for the last 20 plus years. But I got back from the accident and, my doctor, who's also a friend, was like, you need to try something. And so went on an antidepressant, and it seemed to help a bit. And then he upped the dose. And I will tell you, it helped. It helped a lot.
How does it help? Like, what is the before and after?
It's the problem with depression, at least as it is for me. It's just like you're always slogging through molasses, that everything is just harder. And I'm tired and I don't want to get out of bed. And I can get through the day. I can fake it well enough. But by the time I get to the end of the day, I am exhausted. I mean, I got nothing left, and I crash, and then I don't sleep well. And then we start it all over again. And it just felt like that there was, just slog. And I was like, maybe it'll get better. Maybe it'll get better. But it's a slog, and it's hard to feel joy, even though I know it should be there, even in moments. It's hard to fake it. People kept asking me hey, how you doing? And I'd be like, horrible. How are you? I don't have it in me. I can't do small talk. And you can always tell people who are just asking small talk because they're totally taken aback. And of course, all this is on Zoom these days. So people are like, hey, and I'm like, terrible. Things are terrible. But in the last few weeks, it has been better. I'm sleeping better. The edge is gone. I can feel hope and, laugh, and there's joy in the day. And it's not just sort of sarcasm and grief. It doesn't mean it's better, but it feels more hopeful, that there's a chance to sort of climb out of this and do better. But it's easier to look forward to things. It's easier to appreciate much of the good, and there is tons of good in my life. So it's I don't know. But it definitely helped. Now I don't know. You'll never know. It's like an N of one. Would this have just happened? I have no idea. But it's enough of a change that I've noticed recently that I've been taking the same medication for my ulcerative colitis for over a decade, and it works fabulously.
Right.
And it's not a huge dose, and it's people all the time do you want to come off? And I'm like, why? Everything is great. I sort of feel that way about this. I'm like, this is fine.
Given, let me just a quick question on that. Given this constant conversation I've had with you since I met you about pharmaceutical industry and money and corruption and all kinds of things, you just mentioned 2 drugs that you take, and you often will talk about how you've done so much research on all of these drugs, including antidepressants. What's the, what would you say about how the drugs have impacted your life? You have a physiological issue. You have the mental health issue. These drugs have made your life what? What would you say about, how the pharmaceutical industry has improved our lives to some extent? I don't want to do an ad.
Like, one of the things I've learned last 2 decades is that it is, and this is definitely learning, because if you'd had me on, you did have me on your show, but when we used to do this, in 2008, 2009, I think if we played it, Aaron, I had some views that I think I've come to soften and change a bit. It is too easy to try to demonize various aspects of the healthcare system as, either pure good or pure evil. And to make someone into the good guy and someone into the bad guy. The pharmacy, I say all the time, like, I don't hate the pharmaceutical industry. In fact, I mean, it's sad. This is going to sound terrible. It's going to sound like, I have this one friend, but one of my closest friends is like really, really, really high up in a major pharmaceutical company. And he's great. And I know his views. He wants to do good. And he absolutely cares. And, we've had frank conversations about, so it's drugs are a miracle. I don't think we can pay enough for these vaccines for COVID. Like we should be paying through the nose. There's no price tag you could set that would be too much. The drugs that I take have changed my life. I mean, the mercaptopurine is generic. It's dirt cheap these days, but it's hard to describe what my life was like before my ulcerative colitis was well controlled and what it's like now and how different that is. Like, I couldn't make the commute and be sure that I wasn't going to have to pull in a Starbucks and run to the bathroom. Like, that was every day.
And I would imagine shitting your pants on the way to work would contribute to a sense of desperation and depression.
Oh, yeah. The number of times, the number of times I actually did shit my pants is legion, but the number of times I almost shit my pants is enormous.
We should do a separate podcast where you tell those stories of you shit. A whole new podcast.
I've said, I think I even wrote in the New York Times at one point, like, if it makes people feel better to know that I've pooped my pants and life goes on, like, so many times. But regardless, like this is now, it's life changing. Like, I've been in remission for years, and it's like a miracle.
Yeah.
And if you told me that drug cost 10 times more, I'd pay through the nose, because it's like it's a miracle. My issue with the pharmaceutical company is when we charge $1 gazillion for a not miracle, or a Me Too drug, or, when it's impossible to buy, these kinds of life-saving things at a decent price, or where it gets to the point where the whole system breaks down. But that's an industry thing. It's not directed at any individuals, and I don't think any one company is to blame. I mean, short of like pointing at Martin Shkreli, it gets hard to identify single actors who are just totally acting and sort of maliciously. But drugs that work are miracles. And antidepressant or anti-anxiety med, like it helps. There are always side effects, there are always counters, but it is amazing, especially when you see some of these, it's old, it's generic, it's cheap, and you're like, this is just life changing. We need more of this.
Like you said, easy to demonize, all good, all bad, easy to criticize. And we've talked about it over the years. You've written about it. And so it's not like you're an apologist for the pharmaceutical companies, but it's a huge, important conversation. And so I'm always happy to have it with you.
Charging $600 for an EpiPen is ridiculous and horrible.
Isn't that Joe Manchin's daughter that did that?
Yeah. Yeah, I think she was involved in that. Yeah. The fact that it's like insulin is so expensive,
right?
And so many people have it's like this stuff. It's hard like that. We got to find better ways. And there are ways we could fix drug policy or how we pay for drugs. It's all complicated, but it's like everything is broken in healthcare. It's not, if we made pharmaceutical spending zero, completely eliminated it from our budget, we'd still spend well over $3 trillion a year on healthcare. It's a component. It is not the component that is driving, the vast majority of healthcare spending.
Let me just go back one more question about your horrible year, and a personal question in terms of what have you changed about anything about your life, if anything, consciously, having suffered so much loss in such a short period of time. Your mom, your dad, and that's different. It's different for everybody. Your relationship is different, but losing both your mom and your dad, and then I would, almost it must be a completely different thing to lose your closest male friend whose wife is close with your wife, whose kids are like your own. Your kids are friends with their kids. Like, what if anything, have you learned anything? How have you been able to deal with so much loss?
I wish I had a great answer for you. I mean, part of it is to pull everyone else closer. I mean, like, Jim and I, we were part of a trio because my friend Todd was also part of that. So I think we're trying a bit harder. I'd also say that this clearly made me realize everyone is mortal in ways that I had not appreciated before. I'm probably going to be a little better to myself with respect to vacations and time off and, trying to relax. I'm trying to be better about taking care of myself and saying no to things I don't or can't do, or to recognize that maybe I need a break. But I don't know. I'm not very good at this. A lot of it is time. A lot of it is, continued therapy. A lot of it is, just letting people love me. But it's hard. I think I've gotten a little bit, I'm even trying to think harder at work to, focus really on the stuff that I want to do and the stuff that I feel passionately about, and trying to let go of some of the things that are extraneous. But I don't know that I've learned any amazing life lessons that apply to others, other than that, this is hard. People suffer, and it's just, you got to keep going and you do the best you can.
Just one more question on that, because I think that
I will say, I get help. That's the other thing too, is I'm no stigma here. I completely have no shame about this, and I go get help. And, I told I wasn't afraid to tell people exactly how I cut up my face. And it's just I'm open and honest, and I'm more than willing to accept help, both in the form of therapy and medicine, if that'll do it.
Yeah, it's probably my favorite thing about you. I've always been that way. I mean, it's also evident by the fact that you're letting me hit record on this conversation. And I think that's so important, that you're being so vulnerable, that you've always role modeled a kind of behavior that I have both looked up to and emulated as much as I can. It's to the point where I get frustrated and say, what would Aaron do? And then I can't possibly do what you would do. And then when I do it, I report back to you looking for an award ceremony, which I think is...
You want a cookie? Yeah.
You want a cookie or a medal of some kind?
You want a cookie?
But so I appreciate that you're talking about, but just the issue of, men our age and male friendships. You have a few really close male friends in your life that I know of, at least, maybe more. So, I know you go for a walk with this guy every week. I've started to go for a walk with my friend Ken Zatz, who I'm trying to make famous, my daughter's pediatrician, who knows all about you. And you let this guy in, he lets you in, you get very close, your families get very close, and you lose him. I mean, what is that? How does that inform you? Does that make you said you bring your other friends closer, but is it?
Yeah, but I'm not good at this. I'm a massive introvert, and it's and I literally I joke all the time. I think I even said his eulogy. When I met Jim, I was I already had a best friend. I didn't need another. And it's weird that it sort of happened, but it's, yeah, I mean, there's only 3 people on earth that I regularly talk to on the phone. One is my wife, one is my brother, and Jim was the third. That was it. I don't do this. So it's hard. And so, this is a blow, but I do realize it's maybe I don't have a million friends, but I have a number of close friends. And it's trying to pull, those people closer and spend time with them. But it's hard because this, I feel I shut down somewhat. Which makes it close off from any, I didn't want to spend time with anybody after this. I just wanted to be done. It's exhausting for me sometimes to be amongst lots of people or to feel I have to be on. I heard this one time because my wife is a total extrovert, that introverts recharge by being alone and extroverts recharge by being around people. And I get so drained, being on all the time. And unfortunately that's part of my job, but it's oosh, it's been so hard the last few weeks to months.
It must be hard.
And people are always surprised. Like they think I'm like this really they see this Aaron and they're like, oh, I must love crowds and work in the crowd and talking to people and everything else. And I'm like, oh, dude, it's work. It's hard. It's really
I remember
hard.
when I was doing stand up in Indianapolis and your family hosted me, and it was one of my favorite. It was awesome. We had an awesome time. Love staying with you guys, and I learned so much just being around you and your family. But you came to the shows, and most of the people who knew me definitely knew you. And it was really funny to watch you kind of be shy around them and then try to pull you out. But it was real. I was surprised because I was like, this motherfucker, if I were him, I would wear a uniform that said, I'm Aaron Carroll. Ask me anything.
No. Like when it's a big group like that, it's like I start shutting down. Like I have a rule, like I can only go out to dinner with like 2 other couples. Like there can only be 6 people. If there's more than 6 people, I'm like, I'm out. I can't. It's too many people.
So what are we going to do at the live show? What are we going to do at the live show? When I come and we get a theater and I do like a Q&A with you and we do some.
But see, that's like, I'll do it. It's just like, it's hard. It's work. It's like, I do it all the time. I mean, that's my job now. It's like, I'm answering questions. I'm doing stuff. It's not that I hate it all of the time,
right.
But like at dinner, like I'm just like, I'm not equipped. Like Amy all the time would be like, hey, you were out with someone, would tell me all about it. And I'll be like, I have no idea what they're doing. Like, I don't ask questions. I don't do it. I don't probe. Like, if you tell me stuff, I take it in. But like, people probably think, I know too many people think I don't like them. And I'm like, it's not you, it's me. I just don't do this. Like, I'm not great at it.
Yeah. If you don't get back to my text, I go into a fear spiral.
I swear it's
oh my God.
You.
I hope he's not upset with me for.
No. Like group text. I hate group text.
Wait, why?
When everybody keeps popping in, I'm like, I don't want to. No.
Who's so lucky? Who are the group texts that you're involved with? Like, is it personally, socially, you mean, or professionally?
Oh, it's all social. Oh yeah, it's all social.
What happened?
Yeah,
what do you do? You don't even drop a bit. Do you not say anything in them?
Oh my God, it's funny because we all go all the time. Like my thing is like the tap back. Like I'll like go hold it and then hit the heart or the thumbs up. Like,
yeah,
that's my contribution.
Oh, that's it. You're that guy.
Maybe a Bitmoji, but it's like when everyone is like, when somebody posts a video and then everyone has to comment on how wonderful the video. I'm like, thumbs up.
My one friend who doesn't listen to the show, so I'll throw him under the bus. So maybe he's not that much of a friend. He in a group text of like 6 of us, he's always giving us update about his kids' athletic accomplishments, and I want to just lash out so badly. Nobody else is updating anything about their kids.
That's like I get more on family group text with that. Like it'll be like a whole like family thing, and like and then it's like everyone's popping in to say the same thing, and I'm like, God, no.
I don't want to be a dick. I don't want to be like, I'm happy he's proud of his daughter, but
Yeah, I know, right.
My kids are going.
I love my kids. Doesn't mean I love all kids.
Exactly. Well, I appreciate you sharing all that with me, man. I love you so much, and you're pretty much one of my favorite human beings in the world. And one of the things I like most about you is this Aaron, this honesty, this what is your relationship with ego?
I'm sure I have a pretty healthy one. But on the other hand, it's like I'd like to think that like I'm the first person to admit like I am not perfect, and I have plenty of flaws which I'm constantly trying to work on. But I'm sure I have a healthy ego. What do you mean specifically by the question?
I guess I mean it's like, do you ever get like offended or upset or wounded? Because one of the things that's also really interesting about you, and I think most people that know you well know you, that you have a real sharp, smart, highly respectable sense of humor. And that's the other thing. Like that's the only other way I can be really close with someone if they have that. And generally speaking, the people I'm close with are funnier than me, because why would you be friends with someone less funny? And I feel that way about you. But my point of bringing up your humor is like, I've never hurt you. I can't. It's almost impossible, because your relationship, your kind of ego, your own confidence, I feel like comfort in your own skin is remarkable. I cannot take you down. I've tried.
Well, you probably could, but you'd have to be incredibly mean. Like you can't like jokingly or lovingly do it. But I mean, I suppose. Well, on the other hand, it's a good. I don't know.
I can't. I've tried to be incredibly mean.
Trying to think like but you'd have to truly be like, I want to destroy. Like you'd have to go.
The thing about you is you own specifically. You own your stuff. Oh, yeah. You own your flaws so well, so intimately and transparently that I could never make fun of you for shitting your pants. You would not care. It wouldn't matter. You would own it and make it funnier.
That's so, that's true. But if you asked Amy and the kids, they would tell you that, like, if I think they think badly of me, I lose my mind.
Interesting.
I shut down. So I think there's probably a very small group that I felt like they thought badly of me, I'd lose it. But again, it'd have to be about something that's like wounding me to my core. Like, making fun of me for pooping my pants, I couldn't care less.
No, I know. I'm trying to think of something. I mean, when we were at your birthday and I tried to roast you, and there was just it just made no sense. I tried to embarrass you.
I think the stuff that really gets me, like, people would laugh at. They'd be like, "Why?" Like, it's probably. I mean, I'm sure it's deeply embedded in my relationship with my parents, or the faults that they see. And the quickest way probably to wound me is to make me feel like that I haven't succeeded as much as I should have.
It is. I told you I'd tell you when we were about 30 minutes in. How much longer can you talk to me? Because I want to change.
Talk for a little bit more.
Okay. I want to change gears and I want to talk about some COVID stuff. But to be frank, like masks, the new pill, and the you have 3 recent healthcare triage videos which are so robust, and I just highly recommend that you go subscribe to. He has almost 500,000 subscribers. The videos are so well produced by pros, and everything you could say here, I kind of just want to say go watch them, because I want to ask you a couple of other questions.
Sure.
That we haven't really gotten as much time to talk about in our past few on-air conversations. And so I just talked to Dr. Peter Hotez and Dr. Michael Mann yesterday about, anti-science and climate and COVID. And most of my thoughts are instructed by your views and our conversations in the past. But I just wanted to specifically ask you, what are you most frustrated with, given this almost 2 years, I guess, and the I did my own research crowd, including those with high profiles and access to platforms like Joe Rogan or Aaron Rodgers. And by the way, interesting that I mentioned you on the conversation I had with Joe Rogan. Please have this guy on. And of course, he never did. But what is your frustration with that do your own research crowd, and how we have all become Google warriors, given your
I don't mind people looking up their own stuff. I don't mind engaging on that. I'm just incredibly frustrated by that still how many people are unvaccinated, and that still there's just no sense of collective self-sacrifice, or collective, not self-sacrifice, collective sacrifice, that like we're all in this together, a shared sense of sacrifice, that to do this, to make this better for everyone, we all just need to do, whether it's a bit of masking when we need to, whether it's getting vaccinated, whether it's staying home when you're sick, whatever it is. Like, there's just too many people still to this day that are like, I'm fine, screw you. And we're going to have wave after wave until enough people have either gotten vaccinated or had COVID, and we're not there. Like, we're heading into like wave 5 now. It's terrible. It's disappointing.
Yeah. What do you see? I've heard from all the experts and played clips, but this wave 5, real quick on that, since we're talking here.
Well, it's just like, this is a seasonal virus. And when it gets cold and people start heading inside, these kinds of viruses tend to go up more. So you're seeing in the north right now, it's getting worse again, and it's getting better in the summer. Of course, in the South, is it maybe in the hot weather, they all go in for the air conditioning? I don't know. There's so many things we don't know about surges, but we're heading in the bad direction. You can almost draw a line across the United States, and in the north of there, things are getting bad again. That's likely weather, temperature related, but it's bad. Like, Indiana. I mean, I'm in Indiana. We were doing really well this summer. And then we had like the surge that others had, but not as bad. And we came down, but now we're headed back up again. We sort of in the middle there. We get sort of both ends of it, but neither one to the extremes. But like you're Michigan. It's terrible. It's terrible right now.
What do you make of?
And it's going to get worse.
What do you make of the phrase of a pandemic of the unvaccinated?
I mean, I don't think it's a pandemic of the unvaccinated, but they're taking the brunt of the. I said I've said, I think I wrote that the vaccinated and the unvaccinated are experiencing two very different pandemics. It is still exist, but the outcomes, death, hospitalization, most of the bad outcomes, almost all are amongst the unvaccinated. There are going to be some among vaccinated people, but your risk if you're unvaccinated is just so much more. And the fact that we still can't get that through is incredibly dispiriting.
What about I want to ask you about the journalism. I mean, we could talk about both the journalism and the local, state, and federal government communications and so on. But I want to ask you about the journalism. Your Healthcare Triage YouTube your channel won a journalism award. You're doing journalism on this. You've always done journalism and communicated about health as good as anybody that does it. And I want to know who you trust, what you like, and how you would rate the kind of research and journalism that's being communicated and published at media outlets that you think is good, or what you think's wrong with it.
Well, you're talking about specifically with COVID, because that's, with COVID, I don't think anyone has been better than Ed Young at the Atlantic.
Ed Young at the Atlantic.
Yeah, if you pick like 4 or 5 most important pieces written during the pandemic, it's probably him. And to be honest, the Atlantic's coverage has been spectacular. I'm going to screw up names, but I think it's Sarah Zhang there is really good. Olga Kazan, Amanda Mull. There are other people who write about, science and the pandemic of the Atlantic, and they've been really great. Stat News has been really good. Helen Branswell. This is terrible. I'm going to forget people, and I'm going to feel bad about it later. Sharon Begley. Some of my old colleagues at the Upshot at the New York Times have been great. Others at the New York Times have been really good. There's been lots of great journalism with respect to I think with COVID and the pandemic and health and science. It's just there's lots of bad stuff too, and it's finding the good stuff. And I'd say even at the same outlets where high quality stuff gets written, sometimes bad stuff gets written. So it's more about reading, I think, individuals than reading outlets.
Okay, finally, I just want to ask you, we have talked and you have written a ton and researched a ton about mental health when it comes to physicians and healthcare providers. Dr. Burnout. I mean, I heard that phrase first from you years ago. So it's always been a serious issue. You earlier mentioned how you dealt with it yourself. And so what's crazy is how much louder that has gotten. How much of a concern is that given COVID and how that has changed? How has COVID changed Dr. Burnout?
Well, I mean, it's accelerated it certainly, and made certainly in certain professions, it's gotten incredibly, incredibly bad, and it's not ending. And at the beginning, everybody rah-rahed and rallied around the physicians, and now it's like you can find plenty of evidence of people getting screamed at by the very people they're trying to save. Huge amount of mistrust. Lots of people just done. They can't take it anymore, and it's not like we're accelerating the production of healthcare providers at the moment. So of course that makes everything harder, because it's not as if we were at a healthcare system that wasn't working, that was working phenomenally well with great access and everything was great before the pandemic. So even as we start to come out of the pandemic, trying to provide that same level of services and probably all the backup that's been waiting amongst a population that's already burned out is a huge issue.
Right.
I don't know. Like there's lots to be concerned and pessimistic about with respect to the healthcare system.
And we'll keep talking about it. Let's end on a fun note. You have to answer the rapid fire lightning round. Here we go. What video game are you currently playing?
Guardians of the Galaxy. On
what system?
PS5.
What show are you currently binging or watching or have recently that you'd like to recommend?
I haven't been binging because it's been coming out, but I just finished watching the Foundation series on Apple TV. Just watched the second series of C, which was First season was too. I'm watching Succession right now. I haven't binged anything recently. I'm trying to think, what was the last thing I binged?
Did you watch all of Ted Lasso?
Oh yeah,
You
but
love
again, that comes out like week to week, so I
But,
don't
yeah,
binge it. It's
binge
like
is strike
these
the word-
are the shows I'm on top of.
Strike the word binge. Just wanted to get your take and suggestions on shows. I never heard of two of them, at least, that you mentioned, so I'll look them up. And finally, have you gone to the theater? Or have you watched the new Marvel? Is it Shang-Chi and the Eternals?
I like when they all come out on when they all come out on video. I'm like, because again, homebody.
Right.
So it's like I watched Black Widow when it came. I know Shang-Chi just came out on like Disney Plus. I'll watch it soon.
Yep.
I just watched Dune, but everything's in the home.
What do you like?
Easier.
What do you want to recommend of any movie, period?
I like Dune a lot.
Oh,
I
yeah?
wish it was the whole thing and not just part one, but it was pretty good. I mean, it always amazes me how hard it is to turn that stuff into movies. I mean, it's like that clearly needs to be a show. I mean, it's crazy. What have I seen any other movies recently I loved? No, I don't think so. Black Widow was okay.
Let me add one more question to lightning round. What is it? Are you finding joy again in cooking? And if so, what are you making? Because you haven't. One of my
you're catching me in the middle of the Thanksgiving sprint. So like this weekend, I made stock for everything else, and yesterday I started infusing brandy for drinks on Thursday. Peter Suderman's newsletter on cocktails is the best. And then I made simple syrup as well. And then today I made 3 pie crusts this morning. And as soon as I'm done with you, I'm making the apple pie filling. And then tomorrow is making the pecan pie and the apple pie and getting the stuffing mostly done and doing the gravy. And then on Thursday will be, of course, the turkey rolls, which we make from scratch. We got to make mashed potatoes. I got to bake the stuffing, and we'll make like a vegetable, and that's mostly
sounds so
but
good.
It's like I got a lot going on.
And who is lucky to be at your table?
It'll be us and the 4 Fleischers, so the 9 of us.
Your wife's family.
The Fleischers, Jim.
Oh,
Jim
Al.
and Allie
Excuse me. Of course, Allie and your friend's wife and kids.
Yes, exactly.
That's great.
So
they're going to enjoy the hell out of it.
I'm excited for all the cooking.
Yeah, that'll be great. Thank you very much for joining me. Do you know how much I love you? Is the final question.
I think I do. I love you too.
All right. Well, I want to marry you.
Well, I'm already married, so I'm sorry.
I would marry. I also love your wife. So why don't we? Would you consider a 3-way marriage?
No.
Why not?
No.
Why not?
I can't share like that. It's not in me.
But finally, I found a flaw in this conversation.
There you go. But I don't think that's a flaw. I think Amy would say that's a
well,
feature,
that's actually what. Well, I'm here to tell you on the record, it was her idea for me to bring this up right here at the end. So,
okay, great. I'll go find out if that's true.
You don't have to if you don't want to.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much, buddy. I love you.
Anytime.
All right.
Okay, there you go, Dr. Aaron Carroll, and please let him know that you enjoyed that. I hope that you did. At Aaron E. Carroll on Twitter. Take whatever you want from it, and hopefully it's good stuff. Watch his and subscribe to his YouTube channel, and also please visit my sponsor for this week,
Tommy John Undergarments. Very excited to be telling you about Tommy John because I've been hearing about it forever, but now I've got my own Tommy John underwear. And I'll tell you, when you start your day wearing Tommy John, you're that much more comfortable, so you can do everything better. Today, I both hosted the podcast, I did interviews, and I worked outside building a little awning on my shed in the old Tommy Johns, and it was comfortable. You know why? They have a no wedgie guarantee. Seriously, every single one of Tommy John's 16 million pairs of underwear sold is covered by a no wedgie guarantee. This Black Friday, celebrate softness season by stocking up on your favorite Tommy John underwear, loungewear, and pajamas. Shop their Black Friday sale right now and give the gift of comfort to everybody on your list, including yourself, with Tommy John men's and women's loungewear. With over 16 million pairs sold, giving the gift of Tommy John underwear and loungewear has become a holiday tradition for families all across the country. 98% of women and men love getting a gift from Tommy John.
And that's why Tommy John doesn't have customers. They have fanatics. And now you can count me as one, folks. This holiday, make everyone in your family that much more comfortable with the gift of Tommy John loungewear, underwear, and bras. And it's all backed by Tommy John's best pair you'll ever wear, or it's free guarantee. So support the show and be super comfortable during Tommy John's Black Friday sale and get 20% off site-wide plus free shipping at TommyJohn.com/standup. Get 20% off plus free shipping for a limited time only at TommyJohn.com/standup. Go right now. TommyJohn.com/standup. Tommy John underwear feels so good, so free, so barely there. It's like going commando without the risk. You're going to love them, so go buy them now for your friends, your family, and support the show and be comfortable while you're at it.
All right, that's it. That's all I've got for you today. Thank you very much for listening. Have a great weekend, and I will talk to you on Monday.